Thank you very much for giving us your time. It's a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you very much, Madan. The pleasure is really mine, and hopefully it's going to be fruitful at the end.
Definitely. Before further ado, let's quickly start with your story. The question which I always start with, I'm very inclined towards this question. How did you end up choosing civil engineering as for your studies?
Well, civil engineering is my studies. I come from a very long line of engineers. So by default, usually I've entered into this path. But at the same time, I did like the what engineering is offering. Being an engineer, it's not just learning what's in the textbooks. It's actually how to be logical, how to find a solution, be part of the solution, not be the problem facing anything. Okay,
Yeah.
not just in projects, even in life.
Yeah.
So by default, I was interested in the project management aspect of the engineering, and this is why I chose my career as a in the field of planning as well as project management in general.
Awesome. Awesome. So you have started your career as planning engineer, as I see, with Deepa Group, right? Deep Group.
Yes.
And then you stayed there for almost like 9 complete years. You have been promoted to senior planning engineer as well immediately after like 3 years of your role, right? Please tell us more about this juicy role which you had for 9 years.
Well, I've worked with DEPA for at the beginning for 6 years, a little bit less than 6 years. DEPA is a specialized interior fit-out contractor, specializing in high-end finishes. And then I moved to Al Jaber Construction in Abu Dhabi, one of the biggest main contractors.
So it was not 9 years, so it's 6 years.
At the beginning, 6 years, and then I went back to DEPA for a couple of years. Okay. And then I worked with Hill International for a little bit less than 5 years. Hill International is a project manager.
We will reach there. We'll reach there one by one. Just for now, let us try to understand like what your roles were when you started with Deepa.
Well, mainly it was the basic stuff as a junior planning engineer. Get the updates, implement it on Primavera, and as time passes by, I started to look into the aspects of the planning engineer is not just paint on paper, as we usually say it, or just colors on paper, because sadly enough, many people think of it this way, even till date.
Yes.
It's an integral part of the project, actually the best definition I have found it in the PMP, or I believe one of the courses I took in the PMP. The gentleman over there said the planning engineer is a project manager without the authority of the project manager. So he's like the playmaker of the team.
Correct.
And starting from there, I started to look into the other aspects, the contract, the claims, the how to mitigate, what to mitigate, why to mitigate, and then in 2011, I started doing my master's in project management. Okay, while I was still there at DEPA, which gave me a total different insight, things that I wasn't able to learn on field. Then I found myself, I need to go to the theoretical part of it, which was having the master's degree in construction project management. And it gave me an in-depth insight of many aspects that helped me in my career later on.
Okay. So what were your main learnings when it comes to planning of any particular projects in this particular duration with Deepa?
Now, in this particular duration in DEPA, it's again, as I told you, it was the basics. It was how to build a program, what do we look for, the resources, the resource loading, what's the sequence of the works, and how can we foresee the impacts specifically? Because they are a finishing contractor, so they are the last people in line. So
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
they are the last people to finish. Okay, but at the
Yes.
same time they are the
First people,
frontliners.
front people from the client.
Yes. Nobody cares about how the concrete goes. Nobody cares
Yes.
about how the MEP's work is going on. They care
Yes.
about how things look like. Okay,
Yes.
that's the plastic surgery of the project.
Yes.
So this is why this is how I came to interfere with a number of aspects, specifically with the civil and MEP part of the project. At that time, I didn't know much in depth about it. However, I started looking into the subject matter by myself. What exactly do we need? How the sequence, not necessarily go in depth in the sequence of the other activities, but understand what do we need from them.
Yeah, that's one aspect. And
Yeah.
what were the difficulties or consideration you took care of in that particular role?
As I told you, the main difficulty, because see, you are the last to finish. You are at the end of the project. Okay, everybody's pushing and pressuring the fit out contractor.
To be
Not
coming
only,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it is mainly how to deal with the pressure and
Yes.
how to avoid any unnecessary impacts or any unnecessary how would you call it um, any unnecessary aspect that would affect you in your progress of works.
Us.
So resource loading was a very important thing. Specifically, like one of the projects, okay, it was required, let's say, 2,000 laborers to be there on site.
Yeah.
However, the capacity of the company is to provide 800. Okay,
Yes.
so okay, we needed to resource the load to load to do the stabilization of the resources, the leveling of the resources, in order to achieve the same progress by the end of the certain period or by the end of the project.
Right.
Uh, Unluckily enough, not only for DEPA, but most of the projects, okay, none of the projects finish on time.
Definitely. Yes.
Due to certain aspects, unforeseen aspects.
Yeah.
Mainly here in this region, before the COVID, it is the changes in design, the changes in material, and many
That's
people
what. That's where my next question is pointed towards. Have you ever found you as a planning engineer and your project execution team are not on the same page? You know.
and see in many instances, the
Yeah, I
problem
know.
is education. Okay, I'm not saying that they should go and take a course. Okay, but mainly planning engineers, they use terminologies that is not always understandable by the other parts of the team. Maybe some certain people in the team, they will understand the terminology that's being used by the planning engineer. However, and this is from my point of view, they should try and meet midway. We should not use like very specific and very strong planning terminologies, and at the same time, the other people should reach us, okay, to understand where are we coming from. So this is why, because again, each company has their own productivity rates. Each company has their own way of procuring the suppliers and subcontractors, and the planning engineer or the planning department should integrate these items into their program. At the same time, explain to the other team what's really happening. So it's not always black and white. Okay, me personally, I try to go for the gray area where we can meet, just to make things easier.
Got it. So, do you think like this could all these hustles, whatever you have gone through the project execution, and you not being on the same page, could somewhere somehow can technology can be a part of a help if properly educated and integrated in the teams?
I believe so. Yes, I believe so. But again, see, we're talking about here a market. Okay, it's an advanced market, if not the most advanced market within the Middle East and Arab region.
Yeah.
However, many companies, okay, I've met with, they are still adopting the old methods.
Yes.
Why they're still adopting the old methods? Because it doesn't, to them it doesn't seem, for example, that it is necessary to invest in BIM
Correct.
or to invest in a document control system.
Correct.
This system, we know it, everybody's working on it, and many people are working on it, and everything is fine.
Yeah.
Specifically in downturns, very few companies that invest in such.
Yeah, maybe there are many reasons on that, right? So one is
Yeah,
the user friendliness, how you have the time you will need to invest apart from the money, the time also to learn those new things, right? So we engineers or we stakeholders doesn't have that sort of time basically to invest, right? To learn and then implement and then see how it is better than what we were doing.
that's true. But again, see, there are pros and cons, and
Correct.
everyone should know what are the pros and cons. And
Right.
one project, I'll tell you a small example. Okay, in a
Right.
you've been an engineer, definitely worked on projects. Can you
Yes.
give me an estimate on how much, in terms of amount of money, you have, or the project has paid for stationery, just stationery?
Oh man, now I'm looking into that perspective after becoming an entrepreneur myself. That's one of the reasons which I wanted to have a tech-enabled solution, enabling our engineers to come back. Because the last webinar which I had with one engineer, I was literally asking him weekly, how many like papers you have handled in a week in your entire career. He was about, man, I handle anywhere between 100 to 200 papers minimum.
Yeah, that's just even per day, not per week.
Exactly.
One project I worked on, the project director, he was very keen about this, and he made like a small study
Okay.
for 1 month. Okay, he studied for 1 month the amount of paper being used on the project. It was a huge project. It was an iconic project,
Hmm.
and he came up with statistics
Hmm.
that the amount of paper used on the project during the past month could go around the world for 3.67 times, something like that. I can't remember
Hmm.
the exact figures.
Yeah.
So the diameter of the Earth, okay,
Oh, it can be covered 3 to 7 times with a single project.
it was 3.6 times the diameter of
Ah,
Earth.
okay, understood.
Yeah. So, or
We
it could
had
go.
we had also a similar statistics before I started Yovza. So we have calculated a minimum figure which translated into only from UAE industry construction UAE construction industry. We engineers consume trees worth 3.5 million trees worth of papers every
Oh,
single year. Every single year, only from UAE construction industries. That's minimum. That's minimum.
it's understandable. It's understandable. For me, I personally, when someone gets a paper for me, okay, I honestly I tell him, okay, keep it, but go send me an email. Don't send me paper
Exactly.
anymore. Yeah.
Wow, that's a great initiative which you have taken, Ahmad. I really appreciate it. And then you have like been a part of Al Jaber Group, right?
Yeah.
Also as a senior planning engineer, mostly coordinating with in-house team as well as subcontractors,
Exactly.
maybe on timeline and progress of the projects, keeping them intact. You know what I mean? Please
Yes.
tell us more about that journey.
Well, basically, at that point in time, I was responsible to, as you mentioned, for the coordination between the suppliers and subcontractors in our team, specifically handling the subcontractors because I worked in a on a very big project in Abu Dhabi, consisting of 2,000 villas, and the project was delayed due to a number of reasons, client related, authorities related, and so on. But at the same time, we as Al Jaber, we were a little bit delayed in terms of procurement. And they wanted someone, the planning director at that time, he wanted someone to handle these people and to, okay, bring them in a weekly meeting. Where do we stand? Where is the fabrication? When are you going to deliver? And we used to integrate their update or their comments on the programs into our program and see where exactly we're going to finish.
Yeah.
Sadly enough, I did not continue the project to see the fruit of this, but the project is completed now, quite some time ago.
Okay, that's cool. So in this role, you were like also responsible to work on recovery programs, I guess, right? So how did you manage this particular responsibility? Did you maintain like an Excel spreadsheet recording all the activities every now and then? Did you use any software to remind yourself, or was it all based on a manual push? You know what I mean?
No. It was Excel sheets and Primavera.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at that time, it was Primavera P3, P6 was not there yet, or even P5
Correct.
was not there yet.
Correct.
And usually Primavera and Excel, they go hand in hand. You will not find
Correct.
a planning engineer that does not work on Excel.
Correct.
It was mainly Excel, but when I joined the company, they already have the systems on Excel, and to be quite honest, it was very intricate and very detailed, trade-wise, item-wise, villa number. It was a huge Excel sheet. I remember even it was, in order to just try and open this Excel file, you could have went to have lunch and come back, and it was still opening.
Okay.
When I joined them, I only did small tweaks, just reduced the file. It was, I believe, it was a 20 mega Excel sheet. I reduced it to a 3 mega. It was something related to Microsoft. It's Microsoft Excel. So I managed to do that, but there was the person or the planning engineer at that time who did these sheets. He was the one who's updating it. Okay. So definitely, when there is someone who already did such tracking record, and at the same time he's the one who's updating the program, I cannot interfere more or less on how he's going to do it. Correct. For me, I only care about the end result.
Correct.
That it's being done. How is it being done? To be quite honest, I don't care.
Correct. It's very interesting also to see that you were recalled again into the Deepa group, as you mentioned earlier, right? Yeah. But this time as a planning manager. How different was this particular role compared to the earlier?
I was managing more planning. I was managing 4 people, 2 planning engineers and 1 junior and 1 charge hand. I was working in the joinery factory for DEPA. At that time, it was called DEPA Industrial Group. So I was handling the production planning as well as the project planning, but more into the project planning than the production planning. Okay. The difference, it was a totally different experience because I didn't have the industrial or manufacturing experience before. I only studied it in my master's. However, what's interesting about it is to try to integrate between the manufacturing mindset and the project mindset, and which should cater to which. So we used to be mainly subcontractors and subcontractors. Only very few projects when we were the fit-out contractor. So we have a program coming from a client, and we have the factory. Let's put it in a more simple way.
Yeah.
Which is going to pay the bill by the end, or who's going to pay us our salaries? Is it going to be the factory, or is it going to be the project? The project, because when I finish the project, I get an invoice, so that people will have their salaries.
Yes.
So we did the project, and then we tried to put the factory in the mindset, gentlemen, you are not catering for the factory, you are catering for the project.
Projects.
Yeah, because the people in the factory, okay, now I have to finish this project. I don't care which item is the priority, and let's finish and do whatever we can do.
Exactly. There's like ups and downs in whatever they are doing and what is required at the site. Project.
Yes, but this was quite some time ago, and honestly, I don't know how things are going with them now. But even now in manufacturing softwares, there's a humongous amount and a humongous number of companies that they provide production planning and for companies, small and big companies. Mainly SAP is the so far, to my understanding, SAP is the best for the manufacturing. But alhamdulillah, we have catered, at least we have changed the mindset to, okay, gentlemen, let's do the priorities, see which do we need, and in order to organize ourselves. The general manager at that time was very helpful, as well as the operations manager over there. They were very helpful, and things were getting smooth.
Awesome. Okay. So let's now talk about your next role, which you have taken at Hill International, where you were responsible for contracts, risk management, forensic delay analysis, and stakeholder management, right? So it might have been a tough position to be in based on your LinkedIn profile, right?
See, it's not tough. I don't want to make it sound easy, but it wasn't easy, definitely. Okay. But see, this is from my own personal point of view, okay, that we should adapt wherever you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely right.
So now moving from mainly an experience in interior fit out.
Correct.
Project management consultant, where we handled a huge project from design phase up to the closeout. Okay.
Yes.
It was a totally different mindset, but it should. The most important thing is to learn from the experience, adapt it, embrace it. Okay, adapt to it and embrace it. Yeah, and with the help of the team over there, honestly, it was one of the best periods that I have in my career.
Wow. I can imagine. I can only imagine. Fine. In this particular period, you were handling any software, like any kind of softwares, not only like, I'm not for the planning I'm talking about, but for the coordinating with all the stakeholders.
No.
Within the software, you can have the risk management in a single click, and you can, all the stakeholders can be involved, notified. On real-time notification, real-time progress can be monitored through the platform, something like that. No, it's all like manually pushed, right?
Yeah. See, I'll tell you something from my experience. The key,
yes,
is the employer or the client. Okay. If they don't want this, the contractor will not care about this.
Correct.
Okay. As I told you again, what happens that nobody sees such a small investment. Okay, what can it do to the project?
Correct.
To me, it's a small investment. Why? Because maybe you'll pay 500,000, maybe you'll pay 1 million. Okay, but in front of that, on the opposite side, you are saving approximately between 250,000 to 300,000 per month of stationery. Okay.
Correct.
The process is faster. Okay.
Correct.
Lean, but most of the people in the market, that's the other problem. Most of the people in the market are not willing, okay, to adapt such methods.
Yeah, that becomes like that comes with many other factors influencing that particular thought process. Exactly. Well, right? It's not only like they don't see the benefits. It's like, man, this does not come as a community, right? See, as I told you, most of the solutions available and the tech-enabled solutions, they don't provide us as a solution as a whole, which we can rely on in terms of subcontractor supplies as well. Doesn't make sense. So for us to actually invest on something which is standalone, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yes.
So
See, but
yeah, yeah,
I'll tell you something, because now definitely you know that the building information modeling, as far as I remember, they have reached 9D, 9 dimension.
yeah.
So it's integrating everything more or less within a project. It can be used, but usually in construction industry, and this is not my personal point of view, but has been in all
Yeah.
reports. Usually, specifically in construction, people are very afraid of change.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this is the main hindrance.
No, you're absolutely right. Afraid of change because it is consuming a time for them to learn something new.
Correct.
Because BIM is a software which is highly efficient, which is very efficient, but it's a luxury which not everyone can also have. Make sense?
Okay, but I don't think it's a luxury now.
Mm.
See, building information modeling has been there for how many years in the US?
Yeah, decades.
Okay. One of my managers, he told me the concept was there in 1980s. I was not even born yet at that time.
Correct.
So it's very old. But see, there's a number of issues that BIM may not cater to the market here, which is mainly the changing of the material, the changing of the design, and the
Right.
continuous change and continuous interference, and the of the client as well as authorities. Okay,
Correct.
so it will take time anyways. If you're doing it on BIM, if you're doing it on paper, it's the same thing.
Yeah, but it definitely affects the contractors or the clients or any other subcontractors who are from small, medium scale, that particular scale, what we are actually targeting, right? So
100%. 100%.
that's what my point was. Anyways,
Yeah.
like what about, say, what would be approximate value of the projects which you have handled during your entire career till now?
Oh. I've handled projects ranging from 20 million up to 700 million.
Cumulative 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion, 5 billion. How
Cumulative, I believe I have exceeded 1 billion.
Yeah, that's an achievement, right? So, okay.
Approximately 1.6 billion dirhams.
1.6 billion dirhams worth of projects you have been a part of, right?
Yeah.
So that's awesome, isn't it?
Oh yeah, hopefully, yeah.
What was your experience as we have like gone through all your experience from paperwork, from all the deals, whichever you have to do, coming from the stock, all the stakeholders management and all the stuff as well. So what do you think about the role of technology in the construction industry in the coming years? How long it might take for them to adopt?
See, it's already, technology is now a very integral part of the construction. And I'll be talking about the Western part of the world. There are a number of items or a number of projects, but the problem, I can't remember the names. There's a number of projects in Australia, in the UK, in the US, where people are implementing the mindset of manufacturing to construction. Okay,
right.
So this means that there is a huge advancement in the technologies.
Right.
Here in UAE, people are using the BIM up to most of the people who are using BIM up to the 3D modeling. Okay, right. Which is a normal 3D model. They use it for coordination. This was not there.
Yeah.
Very recently, the 4D modeling, which is including the time, okay, right, is being implemented. So obviously, people are more accepting to the new technologies that has been there.
Yeah.
I remember one of my colleagues at university when I was doing my master's. The company, they used to give him phones with Primavera. He used to be a planning manager for a huge organization. So they gave him a certain type of phone, and he could check the program and the project from his phone while he's on vacation, let's say, if there's a problem, or while he's at home. So it's the role of technology is vast. Yeah. At the moment, 20, 30 years ago, you would have never found anyone who was drawing on a computer using AutoCAD. Okay, now AutoCAD you cannot use it. You cannot draw by hand. Even there are many institutes in many countries, they are giving courses AutoCAD to be an AutoCAD draftsman. So technology, it's a very integral part, as I mentioned, and hopefully in the coming years, things will be different. However, again, I'm skeptical that big projects, I'm talking about the region, not just UAE, that big projects would implement and go for, like, for example, 3D printing. Okay.
Correct.
Why so? Again, it's the mindset. Why I'm saying so? Any issues, okay, when you have a problem, if you solve it downstream, you will not get anywhere. Why? You have, let's say you have a pipeline of water, okay? You put normal water clear water at the beginning of the pipeline, but at the end of the pipeline, it's reaching maybe green color, okay? So if you try to see, okay, the problem from at the end, okay, and then you go upwards, it will take you much more time. So solve the problem at the beginning, okay? Go step by step, go downwards. This is from my personal point of view, and definitely you'll find the bottleneck faster than the opposite way around. Why so? How does this relate to the construction? As a client, okay, if I'm a client, if I'm an employer employing a contractor, I will tell the contractor, use BIM, use Primavera, use Expedition, use so and so. Okay, I'll force it on him by contract. Okay, that's one. Two, I need, as an employer, to understand that the design should not change during the process unless it is necessary.
Correct.
Okay, that's the second thing. Three, now let's take an example of a villa project, okay, anywhere in the world, okay, specifically here in this region. I believe you've worked here in UAE, right?
Yes.
So, working on a villa project, have you ever seen that the number of villas per cluster or per zone that are identical? None. Okay, this creates, okay, and they want to finish the project in 6 months.
6 months.
800 villas, 900 villas. This is not possible. It is possible only if you took, okay, if you took the same ideology of manufacturing cars. Hello? Hello?
Yes. Go ahead. Sorry, I ran out of battery. Yeah.
Okay, it's okay. So I was telling you, this will never happen unless they adopt the ideology like car manufacturing, for example. A Toyota Camry is a Toyota Camry anywhere in the world. Okay.
Standardization.
Exactly, to standardize the production.
Right.
But this is the only way to finish 800 villas in 6 months.
Right. If it will not make sense if 800 villas are 800 different types.
Exactly. But this is what happens here. I remember one of the projects, they had 24 types of villas. Each type of villa had A, B, C, and D, and each BC it had a normal and a mirror.
Oh.
You're talking about 124 types.
Correct. Exactly.
And it will never happen. So standardization is a key. This will not happen. Hopefully, it will happen soon in the Middle East, but I don't think it will happen. Again, it's the mindset.
But yeah, exactly, it's a mindset. But do you think the current situation, the COVID-19, all this stuff, and especially when construction is one of those industries which never stopped, like or same as hospitality, right? So they had to like running around, getting the projects done. That's where most of the economy is dependent on. So especially in this particular scenarios, do you think there should be a mindset change a little bit towards the remote solutions?
Yeah, I believe it will happen, but again, as I told you, there should be a major change that's happening, okay, to how organizations operate. And in order to do this, the key decision makers, they should be willing to go for such methods. Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah. If they're not willing, then until it happens,
Yeah.
okay,
It's
will
in
take some
nobody's
time.
hand.
Yeah.
No, that's,
And
you're
see,
absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah. So this is the same statement, and I was going to just rephrase it in some other way. So, but yeah, if nobody is willing to change the mindset, okay, nothing will change.
Yeah. Exactly. You're absolutely correct. So, any last words you would like to share or advise for any budding engineers, for the community, or for the entire engineers here in the MENA region, please? Out from your
Really, it's the main problem that we are facing. Okay, is the it's not just the technology. Okay, it's not just the how do we operate even as a planning department, or how the construction team operates. It is how to bridge the gaps, okay, between each department and the project stakeholders, from employers, from engineers, from contractors, subcontractors, and so on. Reducing the processes between all of these people is very important in the uplifting of the construction industry, because I don't know how to put it, but I'm looking for the words to put it in. But if if these teams, they do not get together, sit together on a table, understand, and we're not reinventing the wheel. You know that any new project, you will face certain problems that are similar to the previous previous projects that you have either developed as a developer, or you have either constructed as a contractor or designed as an engineer. We know that these are going to happen. So let's sit together even before the bidding, okay, and solve these issues. It will reduce costs, time, wasted.
time.
Yeah. How they would do it? Using technology. If they don't want to use technology, just sit together on a table and things will be fine.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, thank you very much, Mr. Ahmed, once again for your time. And we wish you all the very best in your future assignments.
Thank you. Thank you very much, man.
My fellow engineers, we just saw another story of an engineer with diversified experience in the field of the construction industry, who played his part in completing many great structures around us, mostly like 1.6 billion dirhams, almost all on paper. For sure, we have a huge scope of improvement here. Stay tuned. Many more stories yet to come. Thank you.